Hello everyone, let's have some music while I set up. Hopefully it's audible. And daily. There you go, let's give it a second to propagate. And say hello to Bubbles, who's decided to join and purr into the microphone. She'll be part of the update for now. Right, well, let's get started then. So welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we're going to look at what's happening with the market in terms of data rather than vibes, and have a little bit of a conversation about like the kind of more bigger picture of what's going on with the market as well, because it feels like there's a kind of disconnect in the market at the moment in terms of what volumes and prices are doing, and I'd like to speak to that, so I will. So first, doing our usual quick look at what's going on. Well, yesterday we were saying, oh, maybe it's kind of like, it's going to start trending sideways or up or something like that. Well, no, we're still going down. Like that's definitely happening in the top 10. It's definitely happening in Zeneca Old. It's definitely happening in Zeneca New. It's not like, remember that these indices are like thermometers plunked at random points in the market at the moment, because they're not really alive as indices. It's not happening in our fourth thermometer or like our third thermometer, because the top 10 index is alive. This one is kind of staying flat, maybe even showing some kind of bullishness. But then let's have a look quickly at the bar charts, and we can see that there's actually been some activity in Zeneca Old and Zeneca New. Like the top 10 shows like the dreadfulness of what's going on. There's hardly any sales going on for like 12 hours. That's like, I don't know, like this is like 1/5 of this, like maybe 15 sales across 10 projects each 4-hour period. That's nothing. Like these projects are dead. They're not selling. Nobody's buying them. There's been some pumps in the women-led projects, and like some random projects getting some activity in various places. It's actually 3 different projects here in the women-led project, so it's actually more hopeful than it might be if it was just one project. But still, the overall trend, if you ignore those, is like, is quite down. The last 8 hours is very low. And this is despite the fact that gas is, currently as I'm speaking, gas is at 17. So, and crypto is still chilling. If we have a look at crypto, like let's do that just earlier than we usually do, we can see that... not gold. Crypto is still basically chilling in that range, not going up or down, just like kind of doing its thing, not being very volatile this week. So yeah, so then if we look at the volumes there, we can see, and here we have the price line as well, and we're going to get back to that. We can see that volumes are basically, if not at all-time low, at least very close to all-time lows. Like, I'd say they've touched on this level of volume twice, maybe 3 times before. Once was, like the first time was in December after the Jimmy Fallon pump. Second time was maybe shortly afterwards in the drop that happened during the kind of slow rise of volumes that happened in December. And the third time was here at the bottom of that kind of long decline that started in February. And we're back to these volumes. Like these are very low volumes. And yet somehow the prices seem to have kind of stabilized. And I would put forward that the two are correlated. And this is probably why we're seeing some pumps here in Zeneca New and Zeneca Old. Like some projects are actually getting some sales occasionally. And we might actually see, I wonder if we might actually see these projects recover before the top 10. That's kind of interesting hypothesis. Because like, when sales are this low, like what is this project? Like how valid is that price? It's like if you price something at 100 ETH, but nobody is willing to buy it. Like if you have some projects like this where the floor is so completely out of reach, nobody's buying it, and there's one sale maybe every like month or something. That project isn't worth that really. It's just nobody's willing to sell at a price where people are willing to buy. So I've drawn this kind of curve before, the kind of order book, where normally in a healthy market you kind of have the demand and the offer meeting. So this is people trying to sell and this is people trying to buy, and they meet in the middle. There's like lots of people willing to buy from this price on, lots of people willing to sell from this price on, and the number decreases as the price goes up. Like people don't want to buy if it's too expensive, and people don't want to sell if it's too cheap. That's a healthy market. This bottom chart here. What's happening when, like in most NFT projects, is actually there's a gap between those two, which is why sales aren't happening constantly while the market is not liquid. But what seems to be happening right now, I think, is more like this. I think where the gap is so huge that even in a kind of like gap like this, sometimes somebody is going to say, you know what, I'm not worried about this of like this such a ridiculous spread. I'm still going to buy because I think that eventually it's going to be over here. But even those people kind of change their mind if the gap is too large. And I think that's what's happening in a lot of those projects. Because it's not the gas that's stopping people. It's not, I don't think it's the macro conditions and stuff like that, because the macro conditions might be part of it. The macro conditions might be part of the evaluation that people make of the value of these projects. My hypothesis, which obviously I could be wrong about this, but this is like it's not if you watch these videos before, you're not going to be super surprised by me saying this. But I think a lot of these top 10 projects, a lot of these very hyped projects are massively overpriced. Is a Bored Ape worth something? Yeah, for sure. Is it worth 200 grand at current ETH prices? I'm not so sure about that. Like, the floor is 95 ETH. ETH is like somewhere just above 2,000, I think. Is it worth that much? Well, apparently, it doesn't matter what my opinion is. The fact is, a lot of people seem to be saying no because there's hardly any trading going on. Similarly for CryptoPunks, is like, the CryptoPunk sales are just awful. I can actually look at these on my new engine because that is right now loaded. So if I go punks and I look here, and this is loaded very recently, I can, there's hardly any sales going into CryptoPunks. It's slowed down massively. If you look on the hourly charts, you can see most hours there's no sales. Most 4-hour chunks there's no sales. Are there entire days in this? No, there's some days with just one sale of a CryptoPunk, or like 5, or no, there were a few here, but that's a lot of days with no sales. How do you like these new charts, by the way? I love them. So much easier to dive into things. If we look at Bored Ape has a little bit more activity going on, but still, it's better than CryptoPunks, definitely, but it's still 2 4-hour chunks there with no sales of Bored Apes. Like a few, considering how expensive they are, I guess this is not too bad, but still this is what is happening in a healthy market, where people are actually valuing these and wanting to buy these. Now, why are people not wanting to buy these anymore? Maybe they've given up on the sort of Ponzi value of Bored Apes. They don't want to look at that. Like, I can do this, for example. We can see how it's changed over time. How wonderful is that? Maybe they've given up on the Ponzi value. Maybe they've just given up on the promise. Maybe the whole hype meta is deflating and the whole thing is no longer looking so attractive. Maybe the hype meta is deflating because of the market, the macro market context. There's also possible reasons. Like, you haven't seen, look, I can do this as well. I can zoom in and then I can move it around. How cool is that? Brilliant, right? Anyway, going back to this, yeah, so I personally don't see the fact that the price is holding up as any kind of positive sign. A lot of other analysts are seeing the fact that the price are holding up as a positive sign. I think is just showing that, yeah, okay, so the people who are still in these projects are just unwilling to sell. And it makes me think, and I was in the middle of writing that thread, which had to start late because the top 10 report went weird, and had to clear the cache and regenerate it. But anyway, I was kind of comparing mentally this to like what happened to Japan in the 90s, where they also had, like, they should have had a massive correction in price, but they weren't willing to take the correction. They wanted to protect the banks from all these bad debts that would wipe out a bunch of banks. And so they protected the banks, and like, they just like propped them up and bought the bad debt, or like, allowed them to sort of keep operating even though they had bad debt that was basically meant they were basically insolvent. And so all these banks and companies and stuff, they kept pretending that those are still valuable, and as a result they had a lost decade of productivity. And that's the image that comes up for me when I look at, okay, so volumes are just dropping like a stone. We're at like practically all-time lows that we've seen at the very bottom of the bear market, and maybe we'll see a recovery as the week starts or something, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm not so sure about that. We might scrape at the bottom here for a while. But meanwhile, the prices are holding up. Like, if volumes are dropping this much, it should be that prices drop as well. And maybe like the price will hang in there for a little while longer. Like, if the volumes stay this low and prices hang in there for a while, maybe people will at some point start to sort of remove the diamond gloves from their hands and start selling, and then the price will go down. We'll see. Could also be that maybe this is actually the right approach. Just hold it. Maybe the NFT market is different. Just hold it, and then it will hang in there some more, and then this will go up, or like at least go start trending back up. And then when people see this, they'll be hopeful again, and the price will start rising again, or at least holding. But yeah, my view is this is not healthy. I don't like this. Like, the fact that the prices are staying static while the volumes are dropping even more is not a good sign to me. I think prices should drop to meet demand. As much as I like to see the price of my bags going up, I prefer to see the price of my bags going down while maintaining volume, rather than seeing the prices staying steady but volume disappearing. That's not a very good sign for an active, like, live project that's supposed to be like, trading and so on. Of course, there's projects where they aren't that interested in the trading aspect, and the fact is the market is still more liquid than it would be for, like, shares in a startup. But you want to see more volume than this, I think, for a healthy market. It could be that this is going to turn from a market to more a kind of private over-the-counter market, in which case liquid, like, the volumes of sales are not meaningful in quite the same way, I guess. I don't know, we're still discovering this together, but I'm sharing my thoughts. Hopefully they're helpful. If we have a quick glance at Zeneca Old, we can see that, that's also dropping. Like, it looks really sharp on this chart, but it looks like on this chart, it looks like maybe there's a data error. On this chart, you can see that it's just regular drop. We're at all-time lows there very clearly. Like, the last time we were here was in July, when a lot of the projects in this index weren't even started up. So pretty bad. Same for Zeneca New. Last time we were here was in September or maybe August, when again most of these projects didn't exist. So this is really bad. And women-led projects are in a slightly better situation right now. There's been a kind of uptrend, which, I don't know, maybe it will be just an index that performs differently. It would be interesting to see that. I won't complain because I hold a bunch of projects in here. But you'll notice something interesting in this index. Like, whilst the volumes have continued to decrease, like, exponentially like this, prices have followed. This is different than what we're seeing in the top 10, where we saw a decrease in price here, but now the volumes are still dropping, but prices are flat. I don't like this at all. That doesn't look good to me. If you have any questions, please do ask them. We've looked at crypto a little bit, but like, just to confirm, it's just still chilling. ETH is still chilling. Nothing's happening. It's cool. That's kind of what we expect. ApeCoin is everything is chilling, which is good. This should be good circumstances for NFT investment. The fact that there's not a lot of purchases happening is not great. If you have any questions, please ask them. Otherwise, I'm gonna just give you more of a tour. Like, so I've created now the tags. The next thing is like this view button isn't set up yet, but next thing will be to be able to view one of those data sets, which will still be static for now, and be able to view that chart that I was just showing you here, but with multiple projects in there. And that would be the, oops, why is there 2 of them? That's interesting. Let's refresh this. There shouldn't be 2. Yeah. Yeah, that chart will be will include multiple projects, and then the next step will be I'll add, so because the bar chart is nice, but it's like, as we've seen, it's although, like, you know, being able to make it daily instead of 4 hourly is also helpful. When looking at long time frames, it might be more helpful than this, basically, which is still based on a 4 hourly chart. I'll have to play around and see what looks good. But importantly, this one is difficult to switch back and forth between a log and not log scale. And this is really easy. It's just one button. And I think this is a log 10 scale. And I think I want to switch to log 2 scale, which is, I think, is what I'm using here. Because this is a bit too difficult to spot anything. But that plus adding some kind of moving average line, and we've got these charts back, but much spiffier, much quicker to use as well. I'm very pleased with this and making progress. And by the way, this is what I'd like to see from projects that are building cool shit, rather than sort of keeping it all hidden. You know, don't be ashamed to show stuff that's unfinished. Yes, it's unfinished, and that's okay. Like, you know, I don't think anybody watching this is expecting me to have like the most perfect finished product right out of the box when I'm still developing it. But it's quite exciting to see new shit that's still being developed. So, you know, hopefully this is fun to see. And eventually, again, like, and I'll repeat, eventually the goal is that everyone has access to this. First of all, read-only access to see the tags and indices that I've defined and the views that I've defined. And then the next level would be to actually be able to create your own tags and indices and so on. I'll probably do this for a more limited number of people first to sort of manage the load on the server, just to make sure it doesn't break, and then eventually open it up so that everybody can do this, because, yeah, well, like, why not? This is a really useful tool that everybody can use to monitor the market and to come up with their own theories about what projects should be monitored. The only built-in assumption that you can't get away from is that it has to be like it measures volumes, not floor prices. Until I find that, like, Nifty Price is supposed to be working on an API for their floor prices, but they still haven't published it. I've asked them, like, when they will publish it. They still haven't. So until they give me an API where I can suck out the floor prices there, so I can do something similar to what they're doing and do some calculations based on the floor prices, because they have some really good floor price charts, very accurate, and you can, you know, see for yourself exactly what's going on and stuff. So that's really cool. But floor price is a lot harder to calculate than sales numbers. So that's why I'm not. It's not the only reason why I'm not picking it up. I also think it's much easier to manipulate it, so it's less relevant, I think, to the health of the market. So that's the only assumption you'll have to live with if you're using this system to try and figure out the health of the market. That volume is what matters rather than floor price. It'll be able to pick up average sale price as well, so that matters as well. That's a good thing to look at, but not floor price. Cool. So it doesn't seem to be any more questions. So I think I'll end this here, and I'll finish working on the thread and pushing that out. And hope to see you again tomorrow for another edition of this. And hopefully a bit more progress. Maybe I'll have the tag, maybe I'll have the thing sorted here so that I can click on view here and we can see the chart for the original top 10. I don't know if we'll have the line, like the moving average, but, you know, we'll get there. Cool. Thank you very much for joining. Have a wonderful day. See you in 40 minutes if you want a review of Cool Man's Universe. And yeah, take care. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining or for watching later. Bye bye.